Okay, so we're going to be going over an article which I wrote because a lot of people had questions about monetization in BitCraft. And obviously, it's something we've been thinking about for a long time because it's very important that you get it right. And I'm going to read it today. It's very short. People thought that the previous way that we were, the previous article that we wrote about monetization was, am I going to have to do this intro again, though, when they all come in? Probably. But
Maybe.
it was written many years ago, so we didn't know exactly the details of exactly what we were going to be monetizing. So I just wrote it more about our principles of monetization. People wanted to know, like, hey, what exactly will we be monetizing? So we wrote an article that said exactly what it was, to the best of our knowledge as of right now. For context, we're just going to go through the monetization blog, and we're going to answer any questions you guys have. Previously, I had written a longer article about sort of our principles on monetization, what we want to sell and what we don't want to sell. I want to be very clear. Basically, there are certain things in our game that we will sell, and there are certain things in our game that we will not sell. And here's how we decide that. And then people were curious to know what are the actual things that you are actually selling. So we wrote a blog about that.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Before reading this post, you should probably check out our other one. We can maybe go through that. I'll skip through it. We'll just get through the details here. Anyway, we're going to sell the game for $30, and we're going to sell Hexite shards, which is basically a premium currency, but it's also an item in the game, and you can buy it from either the website or the game shop. Notably, all the people who bought a supporter badge are just going to get into the Steam early access. We're going to give you a Steam key, and then you already have bought Hexite shards, so that's nice, and you get a pretty good price on them too.
Yeah. One thing that it's also worth mentioning here is when you buy basically, if you previously bought the game, as in you bought a supporter badge, that supporter badge included a few things. It included access to the game for like all future testing, which is basically going to convert to a Steam copy. It also included a bundle of Hexite shards to use in the alphas and the beta and in the future. And so you'll receive those shards at the start of every time the game wipes until the game stops wiping forever, in which case that will be like the last set of shards that you use for that final reset. And you also, I think, receive some special cosmetics. You cannot currently buy more alpha supporter badges because alpha is over. However, when we have the game on Steam, the way we're kind of thinking about this is you're not just buying the game on Steam. Well, you are, but part of what you're buying there is what we're kind of conceptualizing as a beta supporter badge or bundle or whatever. And so when you buy the game on Steam, you're also going to be getting some kind of rewards that are associated with the game being in beta. So I think there's another like mass cosmetic that's included in that, which we'll share more information about this in the future, but you heard it here first. There's going to be like a beta mask. There's going to be including a shard bundle, also at a discount. So basically the reason for this is whether you bought the supporter badge, the alpha supporter badge, or you're buying BitCraft in Steam early access, we wanted to make sure that in the future, when the game becomes free to play, that
I gotta interject here. Sorry for a moment. Somebody said, just learn this is a crypto-based game and lose all interest. Where on earth did you see that? Except unless it was from my announcement post. But like, come on. It was April Fool's. Please read.
Yes, this is not a crypto game, if that wasn't clear. Just to finalize what I was saying there. So the reason why we're including shards and other stuff in the Steam early access and the alpha supporter badge is because we wanted to make sure that if you buy BitCraft if you buy a supporter badge or if you buy BitCraft on Steam in the future, when the game becomes free to play, we wanted to make it so it felt like the money that you had spent on buying access to test BitCraft earlier, you were getting at least that value in premium currency or other stuff like at that later time. So if you buy BitCraft for $30 on Steam in early access, and then in the future BitCraft goes free to play when we do the full release, you'll be getting at least $30 worth of shards at that both now and at that later release date when for every wipe that resets. So I guess just that's the motivation behind that.
Look, it's an MMORPG. It's an ongoing cost to us. We have to be able to operate the servers and be able to add content and all of that stuff. We're selling the game early for $30. There's two reasons for that. One, it's a hard game to scale, right? It's a single world. All the players go in one world. If we have a deluge of everybody on day one, it's going to be difficult. So we're going to sell it for $30. Also, helps us fund the game. So that's kind of nice. Helps us to build content and all of that stuff. Always the idea was that this would be free to play eventually. And if it's going to be free to play eventually, or even if you sell it for a box price, you need some ongoing stream of revenue. And the idea here is we want to sell stuff in the game. The other option, right, that is the standard option, which is just, hey, we sell a monthly subscription. We could do that. It limits the number of people who can play. Like ideally, you have people who are like really, really jazzed about the game. Are the ones who are buying cosmetics and things in the game. And then anybody who can play, even if you're like 10 years old and you can't get access to your mom's credit card, you can still play the game. So that's the idea. 13, I should say. I don't think actually you're allowed to play if you're under 13, but that's the idea. So that's the whole thing. Let's talk about the Hexite shards, because that's the other thing that we're selling. So they're mostly used for Empire stuff, and they're mostly used for the whole Empire system is a cosmetic system. So it's meant to be, hey, I want to theme the BitCraft world after me, the Emperor, is kind of the idea. So things you can use it on: custom Empire emblems and banners. We would like people to be able, if they're walking into a region, to be able to know that they are part of this community and they can see and enjoy all of the wonderful iconography that people have designed. We also want it to be able to place those physically in the world. So like not only can you design them, but place them in the world, statues, banners. I think it would be cool to see like a giant Thor statue in BitCraft. I think that would be kind of fun. Maybe after his character, or maybe after Thor IRL. I don't know. But that's another thing. The Empire system itself is a way to get the world of BitCraft themed after yourself. So that means capturing territory and putting that region of the world under your dominion, so it shows up in the minimap, and you can see like, oh, my empire there, and when people enter your empire, it will show up when you walk in. There's fanfare and stuff like that. So the actual purchasing of Hexite shards allows you to buy Hexite capsules, which are things that are required for Empire territory and defense. They're not sufficient, but they're necessary. So you need to also do a lot of other things in the game to actually grow your empire. So there's like logistics involved. You need to move items around the world from place to place. You need to strategize with other empires to decide who are you going to attack and all that kind of thing. And then once you have empire territory, there are some cool things that we can do there. So like obviously, as I mentioned, empire territory fanfare. So when you're entering the empire, if you have like really big empire, maybe it looks super cool. If you have a large empire, maybe you have access to certain empire emotes. For example, one fun one that we've been toying with is making everybody in your vicinity turn and bow to you if you're the emperor. That's kind of a fun one. Having large empires have access to special titles. Maybe you can assign titles to people within your empire. So if they have a town within your empire, or assign certain towns certain privileges and things like that in terms of titles and chat features.